now by Sean Levey, who's endured quite a difficult few days since being stood down at Sandown Park last Wednesday. Sean released a statement earlier on today. Thanks for taking the time to join us, Sean. Can you maybe just talk us through what's happened to you over the last sort of 6 or 7 days since you arrived at Sandown Park last Wednesday?
Yeah, well, man, it was one of those straightforward days. I wasn't riding until the last in Sandown on the Wednesday. I arrived there an hour before my ride, and I was requested to take a breathalyzer. And I was one of 10 selected to take a saliva test on the day. Done the breathalyzer, obviously, that was fine, and done the saliva test, which come back positive for amphetamine. Upon asking what amphetamine was, and I was then told amphetamine. Obviously, it's, everyone knows amphetamine, but it's the lady taking the test kindly said, there could be a chance it could be in a lot of things, antihistamines, for example. And she asked, had I been on any of them? And no, I said, no, I hadn't. So anyway, she took a report. I was then asked to take a B sample, which I'd done, and I asked when I would get the result back on my B sample, and she says, well, the company that does the testing said that they always recommend about 4 to 5 working days. And I immediately thought, well, that's not going to work for me. I was due to ride in Newcastle on a Thursday. So anyway, it was brought into the steward's room. I explained my case, and I asked, for argument's sake, if the test I had taken, with the saliva test, if that was maybe a faulty test, was there any chance I could just take another one of those tests, on the day? They said no, that wasn't the way it worked. I'd have to wait until my B sample came back. So I left the racecourse obviously confused, a bit stressed, a bit worried, to be honest. And I immediately rang Dale in the PGA and a few other members, and I asked them what would be the next step. Says obviously I need to ride tomorrow. And to be fair, they said the best thing you could do is I had to request for a urine sample to be taken. They could only organise one for me to do the next day, albeit within the same 24 hours, which I'd done. Thinking I'd be getting, the results back immediately on that. I was then told, no, yeah, it'll be Friday. And then come Friday, I got a call, and it just basically said, you won't be getting any results until Tuesday.
And just what was your initial reaction, Sean, when they called you back in to say that the test was positive?
Well, obviously I was shocked, I had to ask what amphetamine was in the first place. And then, obviously I was scratching my head thinking, I wonder what I could have taken that might have had amphetamine in it. But obviously without the result coming back and it saying how much of said drug is in your system, there's no way of really telling. All I knew is that I hadn't taken anything, and I was innocent, really. And
these saliva tests were brought in I think, May of last year. At the time, senior figures at the PJ and the BHA came out and supported them, saying they would act as a deterrent, but they've ended up causing negative headlines and a great deal of distress and issues for a jockey like yourself. I mean, what action would you like to see as regards use of these saliva tests?
Look, I think the idea of a saliva test on the day is a good one. There's no doubt about that. But I think that, managing, obviously, what should be done after you are tested, if you do test positive for anything on the saliva test, you need to be getting your results immediately, because the ban starts immediately.
And I guess another way around that possibly would be to, if you have the saliva test and there's an issue, you have to have that result confirmed with a B sample before anything's made public.
Well, exactly. I was leaving the racecourse under the impression that, listen, you're just going to have to sit and wait until everything comes back. So not really being given the opportunity to prove myself innocent. It was me that requested to have the urine sample in the first place. So I think the way it was managed could most definitely have been better. It's cost me, it's given me a great deal of stress over that time. Not just me, my family members and friends and so on. It's tarnished my name in those number of days because I haven't been able to ride, and assumptions have been made. Um, it's just one of those, and obviously, the financial aspect of it. Like I've lost out on 7 days worth of riding, albeit 2 of those days there was no racing anyway. But still, I've been on the sidelines for longer than needed to be.
And given you are, as jockeys, self-employed people, I mean, is legal recourse something you've given thought to?
I'll be looking into it. There's no doubt about that. I have to at this stage to try and get back, some of what I've lost. So that will be the next course of action. Still haven't heard anything back from the BHA as far as an apology is concerned, or any degree to that matter. All I've been told is my urine sample was negative and I'm allowed back riding.
And even if you do go down the legal route, you can go for financial recompense, but you can't go down the route of the damage it's done to your reputation to have you linked with an issue like this.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that. At least now, talking to you and obviously with the assistance of social media, I have the opportunity to maybe, recover some of that. But what's it's been done now, and what's been said has been said. So look at I'm just glad. Obviously, it's come back negative, and I'm just glad I can just get back to riding come Friday.
It highlights a big issue, though, Sean. I mean, Racing League was there. You were clear in the Jockeys Championship. There was a £20,000 prize on offer. I mean, this sort of situation, be it Racing League or be it a Group 1 you could have missed out of, it highlights something that does need addressing by the BHA.
No, exactly. It's one of those situations, even though, even after coming up positive on the saliva test, like I did make the case that I would like to get an opportunity to prove myself innocent by doing any other test. And it just wasn't given to me, and that could have been like Newcastle was an evening meeting. If I was able to get a result within 12 hours, I would have been able to go and ride that day. And it's hard to look at that situation. Like I said, I was clear at the time, and it's now a what if, what would have been.
It's a bit like, I think, if you think back to the COVID times, you're told to do these lateral flow tests that weren't that accurate and follow them up with PCR tests. And that seems to be an unfair route if you're even volunteering to do the test again, that they wouldn't give you that option.
Yeah, no, exactly. Look, I think the best way of saying it is that it most definitely could have been dealt with a lot better.
And as regards Racing League and that the prize and the chance of being leading rider, do you think that if you'd had the chance to ride at Newcastle, you'd have been able to carry that through?
I'm probably going to say yes. I think I might have, but it doesn't. It's irrelevant now because the opportunity was taken away from me.
And you say you've only been told by the BHA that the urine sample was negative. Does that annoy you in any respect that they've not been in touch to, as you say, apologise to you, or even to come out publicly and clear your name?
No, I've heard nothing back so far anyway. But look, it's still early days. I'd like to think I'll be getting some sort of correspondence in the next couple of days. And
finally, Sean, as a resolution, what would you like to see happen from the regulators to stop this happening in the future?
I think, like I said, I'm not against the saliva test by any means, but it's also a system that has potential to give you a false positive, which will then leave another jockey in my position. Albeit I've lost the chance to ride in the Racing League and another Grade 1 track meeting on the Friday and the Saturday. But like I explained to someone, I mean, imagine today was the first day of Ascot, and you were stood down on the Tuesday, and you could obviously potentially then lose out on all your rides for that meeting, and all on the back of a false positive. So it's definitely something that needs addressing. If that means scrapping the saliva test, then so be it. But definitely have to look into how to manage this situation anyway.
Yeah, be it a urine sample that's done straight away that comes back within, say, 12 hours, or you wait until you've had the confirmation before naming somebody publicly, because you say you've got the financial impact, you've got the reputation impact, and also if they're trying to keep the sport clean with the saliva test, the damaging impact and the negative headlines this brings around from a false positive's got an implication across the whole sport.
No, exactly, that it does. Look, there's no doubt they're doing the right thing by testing jockeys randomly with their urine samples, breathalyzers, and saliva tests. But I think surely this day and age we can find a more convenient way of doing it, especially one that, you know, doesn't leave someone sitting on the sidelines like I have for 8 days waiting for an answer or results, you know.
And you say in your statement as well, you've had good support over the last week from friends and jockeys and trainers and your sponsors as well.
Yeah, no, of course. But no, it's also one of them. It also, you know, it comes with a bit of pressure then, because I kept thinking, well, Jesus, what if it does come back positive? As regards, you know, because at the end of the day, I did fail for amphetamine, and there was every chance it could have been something I had taken, you know, leading up to the day that I was tested. But like I said, it come back that it was negative, which was great at the end. But it's one of those that it can very easily happen. And, you know, thank God for the support of my friends, family at home. It was that bit easier, yeah.
And you're back at Haydock on Friday. I've no doubt you'll put this behind you in the short to medium term and move on as well. But does it tarnish the season you've had in any way?
Not really, because I've come out the other side of it with you know, with a negative, and I get to keep going again. But you know, I think it's definitely. I'm kind of glad in a way, because it's something that had question. The saliva test is something that people had question marks over in the first place, and you know, I think this is an opportunity now to really look at it and see whether it's potentially worth keeping it on or not.
And do you know from the conversations you've had what the false positive rate is with those?
I'm not sure, but I do know that I'm not the only jockey that had a false positive in the last year. So you know, I think this should have probably been looked at when the first one did appear. But look, it's done now, and I'm the second one now. So look, inevitably, it's going to have to be looked at.
Well, Sean, very good of you to come on and talk to us today. I think it does really help by you doing so to open up the whole issue and move it into a broader conversation.
No, of course. Thank you very much, man.